I'm going to invite Daniel up, aren't I? I'm doing that. That's okay. Yeah, cool. So I'm just going to ask Daniel a couple of questions before he speaks to us. And the first one I've kind of ruined, which was, what's your name? So what's your name? Where do you come from?
So my name is Daniel, as it's already been said, and I'm from Saintfield, so a wee bit far away from here, but I believe it's the centre of the universe. So,
Okay, these are just some quick questions. So, Coke or Pepsi?
Definitely Coke.
Chocolate or crisps?
Chocolate.
Flying or sailing?
As in me flying?
I don't think so, but if you want.
Because I was actually skydiving recently, so I'll go with flying.
Okay. A hot holiday or a cold holiday?
Cold.
So I'm going to ask you this, and you're going to hate me, but what's your go-to dance move?
I'm not. I'm not a man for dancing, so I'm not. So, but one I actually learnt recently in the summer. It's an easy one for any of you who can't dance either. Goes a wee bit like this. It's a winner, trust me.
What's your favourite smell?
Oh wow. Has to be diesel.
Okay. That's fair enough. And this is a classic one of me. Is what's your shoe size?
7.
Good choice.
I'm-
Good choice. Nice to have. So can you tell us a little bit what you do?
Just this year, for this year only, I'm an intern at an organisation in Lisburn called Exodus. I'm sure quite a few of you here have heard of it. So basically what we do, well, we're coming into the summer here, so over the summer we'll be sending, I think there's around 60 teams all over Northern Ireland heading out abroad internationally to pretty much anywhere in the world. With teams going to South Africa, Peru, Uganda, India, and then there's some local teams like Romania, Spain. Well, not local, but inside Europe. Then other times of the year, for me as an intern, there's a lot of admin. So glad to get my head out of the books come 5 o'clock. So
yeah, that's good. Thank you. So I'm just going to pray for you before you start. So let's pray. Lord, I just pray for Daniel as he comes to speak to us, and that you would speak through him and give him the words to say, Lord, and you would take away any nerves that he might have, Lord, and you would really give us a message through him, Lord. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Okay, so if you haven't already picked up, the theme for tonight is intentional faith. Whenever I went home and I was really looking for what God wanted me to share tonight, I found it quite difficult actually. Intentional faith, I find, it's definitely not a common phrase that we use day to day. But basically what I narrowed it down to is purpose. So what is our purpose in life? And I just want you to reflect, take a few seconds just to reflect while I'm talking here on just your own life. What's your purpose? What makes you tick day to day? 3 years ago, I was not in a good place in school. I'm not proud of my behaviour back then. First of all, I was going to church, grew up in a church background, and Mum and Dad sent me along to Sunday school, all the rest of it. But I hated reading my Bible, hated praying, barely knew how to pray, wouldn't pray aloud in a church setting. And then in school, I reverted to, I seek for popularity and that acceptance from people in school. So I actually was bullying people just to raise myself on a pedestal above these people I was bullying. And that cultivated fear from the rest of my peers, who then helped boost me on my pedestal. because they didn't want to be a victim of what I was doing. So I was swearing, I was making crude jokes, and it was all just about what people thought of me. I hated church, as I've said, didn't feel I could be myself in church, because I didn't even, I wouldn't call myself quiet, but in church, I was quiet because I didn't want to open up, didn't want to accidentally let something slip for them people to judge me. And I'm sure there's people here tonight in that same sort of scenario where they, Monday to Saturday, they're a completely different person to what they are on a Sunday in church. So I didn't know where my identity was. I was told from different youth group leaders and my mum and dad that my identity was in Christ and should be in Christ, but I didn't know what that meant. I'm Daniel Peters, born in 1998. That was my identity to me. I didn't know that my identity could be in Christ and what that actually meant for me. So I wasn't living like a Christian. Then just last year, around this time, I bumped into a youth leader at another youth service, a wee bit like tonight, in Saintfield. So I bumped into him, and he, I was trying to avoid him, and then he sought me out amongst the crowd and came over and spoke to me. For some reason, that conversation just sparked something in my soul, in my heart, just for what the next the next year of my life was going to, what path I was going to take. So I bumped into this guy, Aaron, and I had the most purposeful conversation with him. He was really direct, forgot about all the nonsense about what the United score was yesterday, just went straight into how is my soul, and I knew I wasn't in a good place. I was Monday to Saturday I was living a completely different life to what I was on Sunday, and he prayed for me there and then, just at the end of church, pretty unorthodox, and I hadn't really experienced anything like it before, and his words were actually real and really penetrating to my heart, and from there, that really sparked something in my life that really made me take hold this Bible and these truths that are preached from the pulpit every Sunday, and the weeks, the months later after that conversation with Aaron, he was supporting me and just checking up on me and making sure that I was doing okay. So he was discipling me, is the phrase that we use. And from there, I think that was where the switch clicked. And my faith was no longer an added extra in my life, but it was my whole life and the purpose of my life. I then went into school. Well, I then was able to read my Bible, was able to take teaching from that and actually learn from the Bible. It wasn't just a book of rules of do's and don'ts. It was something that was real to me. My prayer life began to improve. I was able to pray and could pray aloud. I was then going into school, and people noticed a change in me, and they were like, what's happening to Daniel? And I was able to talk to them about Jesus and about the cross and about all the cliche Bible stories that we all know. And I think that intentional faith, for me, is all about sacrifice, laying down what we desire, our earthly bodies, our flesh desire in life, which for me was popularity and acceptance for the guy that I was, laying that all aside and just completely selling myself to Jesus and to God, and just with open hands, just saying, God, I'm all yours. So yes, I would I would like to just finish just with a few minutes just where we can just bow our heads before God and just reflect on what our purpose is in life. Maybe it is a bit like me. Maybe it's seeking popularity and feeding your pride. But I would like you just to take 2 or 3 minutes just to sit in silence and stillness. It might seem weird, but yeah, I would like you just to do that and just seek for God and what He is trying to teach you through tonight.